This is Hannibal here from the Hannibal TV on YouTube with my weekly review of the points I find interesting in Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer newsletter. The big news of the week was Cena's heel turn. I mean, he wasn't booed at all, and technically the rest. I mean, in this day and age, heel turn. I don't know really what it means, other than it affects who you feud with. It's not like there was people throwing garbage into the ring when Hogan turned heel, although a lot of people thought Hogan was cool. But Cena joining The Rock's side with that 33-year-old rapper that's supposedly nominated for 7 Grammys, I think that makes him more cool than aligning with the corporate Cody Rhodes. But in theory, it's a heel turn. The show drew, according to Dave Meltzer, 36,953, including comps at the Rogers Center, formerly Skydome in Toronto. More than 7,000 tickets were moved after The Rock was added to the card. That arena did hold 68,000 for the two WrestleManias, Hogan versus Warrior and Hogan versus Rock, and had some bigger crowds for a couple Raws that they did there in the past, but still a very good crowd. They don't have the Peacock numbers yet, but internationally, it did not make the top 10 shows of the week on Netflix, and it would have had to get 2.1 million views to make the top 10 Netflix shows. I mean, the actual card itself, there was nothing special about it. The big news of the show was the Rock's heel turn, or the Cena's heel turn, which most people can watch on YouTube. Why watch it on Netflix when it's a lot easier to watch it on YouTube? The other big thing about the show is the U.S. anthem was booed, as it has been in many places lately. Great time to restart the old U.S. versus Canada feud. Pat McAfee was apparently very upset that the U.S. national anthem was booed. And God forbid if the Canadian anthem was booed in the U.S., how mad the more uptight Canadians would be. But overall, they do not like Donald Trump. So that's what the booing is all about. And people here where I am in Kansas, where it's pretty much Trump country, would be shocked to understand how much the majority of Canadians hate Donald Trump. I am not one of them. I am definitely not one of them. And apparently, there's a lot of people in Alberta that definitely like Donald Trump, and they're interested in possibly making Alberta a state, which doesn't surprise me, but I don't see that happening. Apparently, only 2,100 or 2,157,000 homes watch Raw on Netflix this week. So, for all the hoopla that Raw being on Netflix and people from all over the world being able to tune in to it, it's now down to just over 2 million homes worldwide. Again, most people are going to watch the highlights on YouTube these days. They're not going to sit through the entire show. And at least here in the US, you got to watch ads on Netflix, which why would you bother when they're going to post anything relevant on YouTube? The U.S. Senate confirmed Linda McMahon as Secretary of Education on March 3rd with a 51 to 45 vote. Carmella, who I can honestly say I don't know much about her other than she is Corey Graves' girlfriend or wife. They have a baby together. She is upset because she's been released by WWE after 12 years with the company. She thinks it's because she's a woman and had a kid. She wasn't over, to be honest. She wasn't over. She's 37 years old now, which There's not a lot of now more than ever. There is older women wrestlers, but that's an age where you are lucky. Probably one of the main reasons she had a job for 12 years was because of Corey Graves. Let's be honest here. Um, and there's a lot better women wrestlers. And what dues did she pay to even become a wrestler? To be honest with you, keep the turnover in wrestling. Let's get some more deserving people. I'm sorry you had a kid, but not everyone that has a kid deserves a great job like WWE. One of the easiest, highest paid jobs in the world that literally makes you a star. Just because you have a kid, and if you honestly, that's a decision you've got to make. If you're going to have a kid and take time off, that's less TV time. People forget about you. It's a highly competitive industry. It's going to affect your spot whether you like it or not. But the main thing is, it's not like she's Rhea Ripley getting fired while she's hot. There's a lot of people in WWE that aren't over, and they should have high turnover to keep things as interesting as possible. Punk, for some reason, has been pulled from the May 24th Glasgow Raw and May 31st London Raw. It's got to be a disappointment to the European fans. But I'm sure those shows are still going to be packed because it's not too often they do TV tapings from Europe. They're allowing Natalya to do events outside WWE. She has some upcoming indie dates. Since re-signing her around June, they haven't done much with her. Alex Hammerstone has been released by TNA. That's just another further confirmation. I mentioned in a previous report this week, I was told by a wrestling agent that represents a lot of wrestlers, including wrestlers in WWE, AEW, TNA, and MLW, that TNA isn't hiring pretty much anyone without WWE's approval these days. So if it's not someone, it's kind of becoming somewhat of a development system. And if you look at them releasing guys like PCO and Hammerstone, their affiliation with WWE might have something to do with that. Those are guys that the WWE, for whatever reason, might not have been interested in. And they got a lot of pull there. WWE SmackDown in Toronto, the day before Elimination Chamber, had 11,900 fans in the building. The building holds 19,800. I was told that the crowd was not, I didn't watch the show, but reports were the crowd was not that into the SmackDown. They were much more into the Elimination Chamber show the next night. Raw in Buffalo, New York, always a big wrestling town. 13,861 fans in an arena that holds over 19,000 fans. Here's a note. Sean Spears had his WWE tryout match in that arena with me before his show in 2005 and got hired from it. So you're welcome for making you look good. AEW Dynamite in Oakland. For some reason, they went to a 20,000 seat arena and had less than 3,000 fans in the 20,000 seat arena, including comps and bringing in like guys like Mystico for the show that appeal to the Hispanic audience. The show, even with a guy, they packed it and had overpaid guys like MJF and Swerve Strickland on the show, only got a 0.13 rating, one of the lowest ratings in the history of Dynamite. NXT beat them. They got a 0.15 using the Hardys. Two guys. So let's be honest here. Who's worth more money, the Hardys or Swerve Strickland and MJF? Let's be honest here. And there, and NXT with the Hardys beat those guys who honestly are two of the most overrated guys and overpaid guys in wrestling. Apparently, Dave Meltzer was at the show and said only 60% of the bottom bowl was used. The top bowls were curtained off, and there was nobody behind the hard cameras. Ray Phoenix has been released from his AEW deal and is free to join WWE. Meltzer brings up that cutting guys who they weren't using at all, like Miro, Ricky Starks, Malachi Black, who are basically sitting at home getting paid to do nothing, is a good cost cutting thing for AEW. Check out my interview with Lance Von Erich from this week. The link is in the description.